So I have a saying that goes a little something like this. The best ability is accountability.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about today.
In the QSR industry, well, almost in any industry, accountability matters. Yeah, to me, accountability matters, and I think I think that one of the biggest myths in the restaurant industry is that servant leaders, great leaders, avoid hard conversations, and I think the truth is just exactly the opposite. Great servant leaders hold people accountable because they care about them.
And you're not attacking the individual, you're addressing the issue
Yeah.
that the individual was presenting. You're attacking the behavior. You're addressing the behavior. And so how does that show up practically if you're listening? Like, what does that mean? What does accountability mean? Well, every store that I've gone into, regardless of concept, meaning if it's Subway or Taco Bell or any others, the first thing that I do is I put up an attendance call off log. That for me has been the quickest and not easiest, because if it was easy everybody would do it, but certainly the quickest and simplest way to establish accountability
What
in
do
a
you,
restaurant.
what do you mean by an attendance call-off log? Explain to listeners what you mean by that.
Yeah, so
What is it? What is it?
it's a way to cut tardiness and call-offs in half, or at least initially, and then sort of begin to just wipe it out entirely. And so how does that look conceptually if you're looking to put something like that in your restaurant? It's got about 4 or 5 columns. So their name, the date, were they tardy? If so, how tardy were they? Did they call off or no call, no show?
Okay.
Was, if your company has a particular policy, was the policy followed? Like some companies have a policy where if they're going to call off, they need to call the store, not text the manager, not text the shift lead, not message the group chat. They need to call the physical location and say, hey, I'm not coming in today because of X, Y, and Z. And then lastly, did they find coverage? And so all of those things matter. And if they were tardy egregiously versus 7 minutes, that matters in terms of how you're going to not potentially discipline that person right away, but it gives you a sense of action plan moving forward when you write the next schedule. Okay, so if this person was 45 minutes tardy, okay, well then I might take that off of their hours next week. Or if they're no call, no showing, or if the policy isn't followed, or if they're finding coverage. Now, the coverage piece is interesting because some people might shrug their shoulders and say, well, if they're finding coverage, then what does it matter? Well, it's no longer an attendance issue at that point. If they're consistently finding coverage and they're consistently not showing up for their shift, then it becomes a performance issue. Because if they're just getting, to use your word, essentially a warm body in their stead, well, then it's not an attendance issue, it's a performance issue. And so you have to take that into consideration as well when crafting schedules and moving forward and all of these things. And so typically the way that I go about it is that if a person is tardy and or their name shows up on that list 3 times or more, so more than twice, in a period, and a period for us is 28 days. Some people it's 5 or 6 weeks, depending on the concept. Then an NOD is going to be issued at that point. And an NOD is a notice of discipline. You might call it a write-up. The nomenclature doesn't really matter. You're picking up what I'm laying down there,
Right.
okay? And what you'll find is initially people might quit. They don't like it because they don't like being held accountable. But some people, especially the people that are your leaders, your shift leads, and people who actually want to make a career out of this thing, they'll actually really respect it. They'll call it things like your leadership is refreshing.
Right.
Is something
Yeah.
that I've been told before. Like, your leadership style is refreshing. Like, you actually come in and you don't take any shit. Now, this is the part where people get a little scared. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, right? you're going to have to work a little bit harder initially when you come in there and you implement an attendance chart like this to establish accountability in a restaurant. Why? Because you might have a little bit of an exodus initially. And you might have to work a little bit harder because there you have an exodus. But then the people will rally behind you, and the people that you begin to get into and indoctrinate into your system, they'll begin to respect and know, oh, okay, this is a place that I can actually rely on, and the animals don't run the zoo. Right? And from there, I mean, it doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that long before people start to realize, oh, yeah, this is actually a real thing. But the part of it that's difficult for most people is that you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent with it, and it can't go away.
And you can't play favorites.
You can't play favorites.
No.
Even if it's your best shift lead or your best assistant manager, they need to be held accountable as well.
I mean, allowing poor performance to continue is, in my mind, is not kindness. It's neglect.
And here's the thing. You ready for this? This is a bomb. Every underperformer you protect or show favoritism towards, you are showing all the high performers in your location not to care.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, to me, accountability is not mean. Holding people accountable says, I believe you can do better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to help you get there. I think it's the mean boss that says, you failed, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's the mean boss, the bad boss, that doesn't hold their people accountable.
Right.
You know,
It's the weak boss that actually doesn't. That they don't hold people accountable. Well, I don't even want to have that conversation.
Right.
Like you're so weak.
Kind, nice, that whole thing. But you can correct behavior and still respect a person's dignity. Mm-hmm. But to go back on what you said, in the beginning it's going to be a little rough. But you're sending a clear message to your high performers, and the high performers are the people that you want in your store, that you're sending a clear message to them that everybody's held accountable. And one of the biggest reasons that high performers leave is because there's no accountability.
Right. The underperformers are protected.
Right, exactly.
And in some ways favored.
Exactly. And I, going back to the whole schedule thing, and showing up on time, or not showing up on time. I had an employee that was phenomenal. That when she was at work, she was phenomenal. She worked her butt off. Customers loved her. Employees liked working with her. But when they saw her name on the schedule, there was always concern because this employee had a mentality that they showed up when they wanted to show up. Mm-hmm. You're scheduled in at 11. Well, they showed up at 11:30. Where the heck are you?
Right.
Well, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'll stay a half an hour later. Mm-hmm. That kind of mentality. Had to sit them down and just explain, 11 is 11. And for that half an hour that you weren't here, you jeopardize your fellow employees that you say you love.
Right.
And so it was just sitting down, having a conversation that what their tardiness was doing to, find out what was important to them. Well, what was important to them was the people they worked with.
Yeah.
And finding out they worked with, the people they worked with were important. So when I approach it as, hey, our policy is you have to be here at 11, instead of approaching it that way, we're trying to respect the person's dignity but coach and correct, it's like, for that half an hour that you weren't here, all of your fellow coworkers that you love struggle. Mm-hmm. Only had to have that conversation once.
Yeah.
No.
Not to totally derail you or what we're talking about, but that's kind of a district manager, above store person schedule there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they're acting like that a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then that just comes back to having self-awareness, and the humility.
Right.
Right. You're in a store, right? You do have to abide by the schedule. And once you get above the store, then you can kind of come and go as you please and all of those things.
Well, I think the above store leaders, the people that are above store, I don't, and you know this, I don't ever have schedules for them. You know, that's to me, that's kind of silly.
Yeah.
The minute you start, and we touched on this last week, the minute you start saying, okay, you, Mr. or Mrs. Above Store Leader, you have to put in 50 hours a week, and we expect you, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then, well, there's a problem at one of your stores. I've already put in my 50.
Yeah.
If I found that if I don't dictate schedules to district managers, senior district managers, those kind of people, they actually put in more. I find myself having to say, hey, you're putting in too many hours. Mm-hmm. I had that conversation with you.
Yeah.
So I found myself more having to say, by not dictating hours, I found myself having to say more, you need to cut back on your hours. Because, if you're working 70, 80 hours or, 50, 60 hours a week, you're not effective.
Right. So I didn't mean to derail you because now we're getting more towards efficiency than accountability.
Right.
But yeah, so so that was just one example as far as how you can establish accountability in a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And it does come down to attendance and one of the first things, because with the number one issue in this industry being staffing, you got to get people to show up.
Yeah. Coach, document, be consistent.
Right. And
that applies to everything, but it really applies to scheduling and getting people to show up. Coach, document, be consistent.
Yeah.
And you're documenting it.
Yeah, in the part where, again, nothing's more elusive than an obvious fact, which is why I feel compelled to say this, but in order to establish accountability in your store, it starts with you. You also have to be willing to be held accountable.
Darn right.
And I say it a lot to my team. I will say, hey, we're struggling in this area. That's a bad leadership moment on me. That falls on me, that we have not been, that a change order didn't get put in consistently, or we've been struggling with some of our food safety items and all of these things. We've been focusing on KPIs and all of these things. These areas are lacking. That falls on me. Bad leadership moment, right? You cannot, but so many people will just point the finger and say, well, I told them that we need to do this, and this.
I hate hearing that. And I also, the other thing I hate hearing is,
it's your fault. It's your fault.
I hate hearing it's your fault. I also hate hearing.
No, I'm saying it's your fault, the manager.
Right.
The
but I also hate hearing, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. This is stupid. You may think it's stupid, but sorry, it's a KPI that we're measuring. It's part of your responsibility. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you a question. Why do you think employees think accountability means they have a mean boss?
I think it goes back to the two biggest problems in my mind that are plaguing society today, which is instant gratification and insulin resistance. Eating right and taking care of yourself requires an incredibly high level of accountability.
Okay. I wrote down 4 things.
Doing things the right way takes time. Getting in the best shape of your life takes time. Becoming a great leader takes time. Writing a novel takes time. There is no instant gratification with any of those things. And when we have instant gratification and instant insulin resistance, those two things are allergic to accountability, and that's what the majority of the workforce that we serve adopts. They're allergic to it initially. And I think that's why they equate somebody has an accountable atmosphere as mean. Well, I don't want to go work for Hunter. He's mean.
Yeah.
we were talking about that. Was it just past week when you were my boss? There was one meeting that we had where David was rearranging the market a little bit. And I had some RGMs who were leaving my market or my district and some RGMs that were joining my market. Both sets were crying. The people that were leaving my district were crying because they didn't want to leave Hunter, right. And the people that were entering my district were crying because they didn't want to work for Hunter.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, accountability, he's mean. And I think this kind of equates a little bit to what you just said. I don't like Hunter, or I don't want to leave Hunter. I think some employees, most employees, because great leaders are hard to find, but I think have never worked under consistent leadership. That in past they've had managers that ignored problems, or they had the nice manager, not the kind manager.
Did the managers they worked for ignore them, or did they keep them ignorant of them?
Both.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly.
They were hoarding the problems,
right.
Not really letting their team in on it because they were trying to solve everything themselves.
Exactly, both. But I think both. I also think other people that say, "Oh, he's mean." No, he's just accountable. He's a mean guy. They confuse comfort with caring.
Yeah.
That when a leader starts holding them to standards and says, this is how things have to be done, they feel challenged. And I think people balk at challenges, but challenges, and you can use all of your examples, but challenges are the only way to grow. Mm-hmm. You run every morning. You lift weights. You're not going to develop muscles if you don't challenge yourself. You're not going to improve your speeds if you don't run every morning. Mm. You're not going to, develop the bicep, the tricep, the lats, whatever, mm-hmm. unless you don't do the exercises that challenge you to build it. Right? You're not going to become a great employee if you can't accept challenges. So I think some people confuse comfort and caring.
Yeah.
I just want to be comfortable in my job. I just want a leader who makes me feel comfortable. I think a caring leader is the person that challenges you.
Yeah.
They care about your success.
Yes. Yes.
I think sometimes accountability can expose bad habits. That, like you said, it's easier to blame the manager than to accept personal responsibility.
Yeah, very easy. Very. I mean, it's just
like, oh, my manager says I have to be to work at 2:00. Yeah, well, he's a bad manager because he's telling me I have to be to work at 2:00. Yeah, well, you have to be to work at 2:00. And if you don't want to be to work at 2:00, that's your personal responsibility. It's not your manager's. Does that make sense? I mean, I could give a lot of examples. I'm just trying.
Well, I mean, it's just if without accountability, it's just like, why would we even write the schedule then? Why even write a schedule if you're not going to be in that today? Why?
But anything,
yes, it could be with anything. It could be with anything. Like one of my AGM's favorite lines is just do your job.
Right. My manager my manager says I have to shake the salt shaker on the fries 3 times. Well, that's the formula. That's how we make our fries. Mm-hmm. That is what our customers accept. That is, I am going to hold you accountable that this is the way we prepare this.
Right.
If you don't want to do it, and I write you up or give you a whatever, or I coach you and say, it has to be done this way, mm-hmm. and you say, yeah, but I don't like salt, or whatever.
I'm sorry, you're not in charge of fixing the world's blood pressure.
No, but it's my point. My point to that.
Salt the damn item.
Yeah, my point. My point to that is, I'm holding you accountable to prepare the food item the way that it is dictated to be prepared, and it is your personal responsibility to do it that way. Period.
Right.
You know, so I think that I have a mean boss because he tells me I have to make the food this way. No, you don't have a mean boss. You have a boss who cares about the product that's going out of their store, and he's holding you accountable to make sure that happens. And if you don't want to be held accountable, tough. You know, then it's a personal problem.
But again, and this is something that we've talked about on previous episodes. They might balk at it at first, or they might just be a bad apple, and you need to get them out of there. You need to get them out. But more often than not, what I've found is, again, something that you've said, where running a restaurant is like raising a family, just on a larger level. And so when you put these boundaries in place, i.e., hold people accountable, they actually feel safer.
Exactly.
You give them structure.
Yeah.
And they respect it.
Yeah.
They respect it. That was one thing that one of my shift leads told me this past week, because he actually gave us the idea for this topic today. And he said, like, no, it's got nothing to do with being mean. He just cares about you and still loves you, just holding you accountable.
I think managers that hold their employees accountable care more about their employees, care more about the success of their employees than managers that don't.
Right.
And so if you work for someone who's not holding you accountable, letting, whatever your monkeys run the zoo or whatever you say.
Yeah.
They don't care about you.
Right.
To them you're a number, you're a job, it's just a job.
And they quietly resent you.
Right. I think the fourth thing, and this is more towards leaders about accountability, is I think that sometimes as leaders, we simply communicate accountability poorly. We fall down as leaders.
So when you say we communicate accountability,
sometimes,
poorly, what are you saying?
If the feedback, the coaching comes with anger or sarcasm or disrespect, the employee's going to stop hearing us. They're only going to remember how they felt.
Yeah.
But if the coaching or holding someone accountable isn't, hey, you're really effing that up, you're doing a crappy job, that isn't how we make fries here. Then they're not going to hear you.
No.
But as a leader, if we communicate accountability without disrespect, without anger, without sarcasm, the employees are going to receive it much better. So I would say three things on the employee and accountability. I think sometimes people have never been held accountable, even if it's their first job and their parents never held them accountable or whatever. I think that sometimes accountability just exposes their bad habits, and they don't like their bad habits to be exposed. I think, and the third, then comfort and caring. They confuse comfort. They confuse those two things. I just want to be comfortable at my job. Well, the caring boss is going to hold you accountable. But then I think the fourth thing is on the leader in how you communicate accountability.
And I would say how you do that is, again, questions are the answer. So, perfect example, just the other day, and this brings another fact of the matter that we touched on earlier in this episode, where the accountability starts with you. If you want to implement accountability, you also have to be willing to be held accountable. So, One of my AGMs came up to me as my shift was coming to a close, and I was getting ready to leave, and He said to me verbatim, "Hey, can I challenge you on one thing?" And I said, "Yes, of course. What is it?"
Love that. I love that.
And he said, "One thing I think you could get better at is cleaning up your area before you leave."
Yes.
It's exactly what he told me.
Love it.
What am I going to say to that? No, no, of course, absolutely. I will be better. And then he made a joke and he kind of laughed and he just said, "Just do your job." Right? So lead with a question, because again, questions are the answer. When you ask a question the way that he asked you, like that, "Hey, can I challenge you on something?"
As a leader, you should welcome being challenged.
You
should embrace it and encourage it.
You're gonna if you're a leader, you're gonna be embraced. You're gonna embrace that question. If you're not a leader, you're at least going to be disarmed, because it's a question, not an accusation, right? "Hey, can I challenge you on one thing?" It's disarming. And if you're a leader wanting to grow, you're going to be embracing that, engaging with it. "Yes, please tell me more," right? "Hey, could you just clean up your area a little bit better before you leave?" Absolutely. And then the part that is his own little nuance and idiosyncrasy when it pertaining to his particular style of leadership, he just jokes. He's like, "Just do your job." Right? So that's a great 3-step formula there.
But you embraced it, you heard it, you welcomed it, you created an environment where he felt comfortable in saying it. Right? Which that is culture. We talked about that a lot at culture, but so the great leader is going to embrace that. They're going to encourage it. They're going to receive it. They're going to react to it.
Yes.
The poor leader.
They're going to respond, not react.
Respond. Right.
Yep.
Respond, react. Yeah. They're going to respond to it. If you're immediately, "I'm your boss, how dare you speak to me like that?"
Yeah.
Do you know who the F I am?
Yeah.
I'm manager. See that? It says it right there, manager.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever brand you're leading whatever unit you're in is going to fail.
And that goes
And
back
it may not fail overnight, but it's going to fail.
Yeah, though that goes back to what we've talked about in previous episodes, where again, accountability, it also goes bottom up, not just top down.
Exactly. It has to. It
Yes.
has to.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times people, you too, I can't think of examples, but you've said to me, "David, maybe you should do this differently, or, write this memo differently," or, I think the best QSR leaders balance high standards with genuine care. And I emphasize genuine, because
people have really
every single one of your employees can tell if it's fake care versus genuine care.
Yeah, you don't have to have a doctorate to have a good bullshit detector.
Yeah, exactly. The best leaders for accountability, they celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
They coach the mistakes. They stay consistent. I think if we could get anything across here, consistency matters. I don't want to say don't play favorites, but if you example your chart with tardiness.
Yeah.
If you don't call to task your best performer for being tardy, then you're not being consistent. You have to do that.
And it's not easy.
Because
you're not.
So that's
but for a play on words, you kind of are playing the favorites by holding them accountable.
Well, yeah, I said,
and that's the part that's the most difficult, because you love this person,
right.
They crush it for you, especially when you're not there. You can count on them, you can trust them, but then when they slip, it's like fuck.
Well, yeah.
I have to. Otherwise, I'm full of shit.
Right.
Right.
I wrote. They stay consistent, comma.
Mm-hmm.
They don't play favorites.
Yeah.
And they make their expectations clear from day one.
Yeah.
So you said, I post this up on day one.
Day one, first thing I do.
You know, so I make my expectations clear on day one that you will be held accountable for tardies. You will be held accountable for call-offs. You will be held accountable for switching shifts. Yeah, and I go back to the switching shifts thing, is that let's say you've delegated the schedule to someone, you've spent a lot of time with them on how to do a schedule, and you talk to them about you need to have a really good closer, a really good finisher, and you need to have, you know, this person who isn't that great, but we're leading them towards becoming a great finisher. And then someone switches the schedule around. So all of the plans that were put in place, i.e.,
when you say switching the schedule around, what do you mean?
not switching the schedule around, I mean finding a replacement for themselves. You know, or, you know, hey, I can't come in today, so Mary's covering for me.
Yeah.
Okay. But we had a plan in our, you know, I had a plan that I wanted you there because I have Joe, who's a really new guy, and you're a great finisher, and Joe's kind of new, so you were going to work with Coach, and Joe was going to be able to watch you. Now you just switched. Mary isn't the best finisher, or Mary's not the best trainer, and so all of the plans that we had to develop Joe are gone.
I would say that my only pushback on that would be if it becomes a theme.
What do you mean by that?
So if they do it one time, if they do it one time, like, okay, great. I appreciate you finding coverage. Fantastic.
Right.
But if it's happening 2-3 times in a period, then it goes back to what I said in the beginning, where it's no longer an attendance issue, it's a performance issue.
Right. And so then I'm going to coach them on it.
Yeah.
You know, this is why I'm scheduling you on these shifts. And then go into the explanation. I think a great phrase to remember is...
The best ability is accountability.
Yeah, but high expectations and high support create high-performing teams.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to expect great things out of you. I am going to also support you greatly. Doing both of those things, I'm going to expect great things of you, and I'm also going to greatly support you. You as a leader do those two things, you're going to have high-performing teams.
And there's nuance to the word support. Support does not mean you're on call 24/7.
No.
Support is going to be a case-by-case, person-by-person basis as far as how they define what support looks like for them.
Exactly. I mean, and we've said this before in many episodes, that we lead and manage every single person differently. Just like I'm a father of 2 daughters who are night and day different, and how we encouraged and disciplined them, totally different. And that's the same thing with a team.
Yep.
You know,
communication chameleon.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, your goal as a servant leader isn't about making people comfortable. It's about helping people grow.
And it starts with accountability.
And
And it starts with you.
Growth requires feedback. Feedback requires accountability. And accountability, when it's done with respect and with care, I think is one of the greatest acts of servant leadership.
Yeah. So to summarize that, if you're an RGM and you're looking to get the place to run without you, which I think is one of the hallmark characteristics of great leaders, is can your store run without you, and perhaps even better.
I think sometimes they can run better.
Yeah. And it starts with accountability. And so if it's something like an attendance chart, I would do that. I would do that. If you got questions about that, just write it down in the comment section. We read them all. So, and then when it comes to holding people, when it comes to actually the how, right? Socratic, like Jesus did.
Yeah.
Asking questions. Questions are the answer.
Right.
Hey, can I challenge you on something?
Right? I think I have a chapter in my book about questions.
Yeah, and just see what happens. It won't take nearly as long as you think. And if you want to fast track this, then download the Fast Food Fast Track Playbook. The link is right there. In fact, I just had a call with one of my clients today from a Dave's Hot Chicken location in Kansas. He said verbatim, the fact that my team has not needed me this long is blowing my mind. I'm watching them thrive in the chaos. And that doesn't happen without accountability. So download the Fast Food Fast Track Playbook if you want to fast track accountability in your restaurant so it can run without you. And you can fast track your leadership development and your profits. You got anything else?
Accountability is caring.
And the best ability. We'll talk to you guys next time.